Okay. Hi, friends, and thanks for listening to the Fashionista Life brought to you by True Fashionistas, where you can sell, shop, and look fabulous. I am your host, Jennifer Johnson, and today we welcome into the studio Mimi von Schreiner Valenti. Sorry. And she's a local realtor, a fashion guru who just loves celebrity fashion and celebrity style, and also a manners aficionado. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really pleased to be here with you. This is just super fun for me.
I'm so excited because we did the one for Thanksgiving.
Right. Yes.
And now we're talking about Christmas because that brings about a whole bunch of other
Christmas is
questions.
it's a real minefield of manners. I have to say, there's
Yeah.
just so many ways to get tripped up during the holidays,
I
which is so
trust
sad
me,
but
yeah.
true.
It is. It's sad but true, but we've all kind of been there.
Yep.
And like I was telling our listeners that the last time we were together, that I looked to you to answer all of those questions because you just know these things. So
Yes.
I think that's so wonderful.
Thank you. Well, it's my pleasure. I hope I'm proved to be helpful.
And you are. You definitely are. So, holiday season, Christmas is upon us. Holidays for everyone is upon us. And that means family and friends in town.
Yep.
Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But, and holiday parties for work. Again, not sure if that's good or
Yes.
bad, but that means a lot of etiquette.
For sure.
So, leftovers. I know we talked about this a little bit at Thanksgiving time, but another question that came up, do I give them back to everybody? Now, I know we talked about, do I take them back myself if I brought them? But if I'm the host or the hostess, do I give them back to everybody who's brought a particular dish if it doesn't all get eaten, or do I just divvy it up between everybody?
So it is not a rule that you return any food. When people bring food, they bring it with the understanding that it will be eaten, and whatever's not eaten belongs really to the host and hostess. It's not expected that you're going to get to take it home. Now, when I throw a party,
Mm-hmm.
I always send people home either with what they brought or some portion of what they brought.
Mhm.
Or if it's a smaller, more intimate party, if it's not a huge gathering, I'll put together little to-go boxes, for everybody, or I'll have the caterers, throw it
Mhm.
together. If we've hired staff for the party, then,
Right.
they just box it all up. They understand at the beginning of the night how we roll, and, try and
I
make
love it
sure
how we roll.
try and make sure everything kind of goes out the door and we don't get left with too much
Right.
leftovers. But you don't have to do that. If you are a person who loves having all that extra food, counts on having it for the
Mhm.
holidays, or let's say you're having a party where half the people are your friends and half the people are your family, and you're really hoping to have those leftovers
Sure.
to make sandwiches and do things because you have a house full, that's fine. You don't have to give the food back. There's
Okay.
no rule that says you must return it. Now, the dish that it came in should be washed and returned to that person before they walk out the door.
I was going to ask that. That was my second question.
Yeah, for sure. So if they brought things in a dish, the expectation is that you will be handing them back that dish either with something in it,
Mhm.
or if you've kept what's in it, that it be washed and,
Makes
and
perfect
returned.
sense. Otherwise, I know I've been in that situation
Yeah.
where I'm like, who did I give that to? What party did I bring that
Right.
to? And then you don't have your favorite dish to serve again.
Right.
For
And
the
people don't
host.
always remember either,
Right.
because, people arrive and everybody comes at
Oh,
once,
yes.
and, you don't know who brought what,
No,
right? You have no
that's
idea.
true. So on a note other than food, so this is a question that one of our listeners had.
Okay.
So one of my friends asked to borrow a dress for a party. I felt guilty and I said yes. And now I regret it. I'm worried it's going to get ruined. Can I change my mind? Do I need to stick to my original decision? I'm really dreading the conversation.
This is a tricky one. What would you do in that situation? I'm just curious. I mean, you're my dress go-to, so I'm curious what you think you would do.
I would stick with my original decision and just hope and pray that if something happened to it, they were able to get it cleaned or fixed or whatever the case may be, and have faith in them.
That it's going to come back. I know it's such a tricky situation because we've all been there where we've said yes to something and then afterwards kind of regretted it.
Oh, yes.
And then when it comes back damaged, that's hard. So I think if the person's very excited and enthusiastic about wearing the garment and you've already said they can wear it, it would not be kind.
It wouldn't feel right.
Wouldn't feel right to go back on that. That being said, I think as the person borrowing it, let's put that hat on for a minute. You should have an expectation that you're going to return it
Mhm.
to
In
the person
condition.
in the condition that it was given to you. And honestly, you should also pay to have it cleaned. If you borrow something from
Right.
someone, you should pay to have it cleaned. I mean, I have a very dear friend, and she ran a dance business, and she had these gorgeous tutus, and we borrowed one for some event we were going to, and somebody stepped on it and ripped it,
Mhm.
and she had no expectation that I was going to buy it from her. I was just
Right.
borrowing it. But the minute it was ripped, it was
Mhm.
mine,
Right.
So you have to be conscious of always just the golden rule,
Mhm.
with something like that. How would you feel,
Right.
if it were the other way around?
That makes complete sense. Put it back on yourself. Put
Mhm.
yourself in their proverbial shoes
Correct.
or dress.
Or dress.
Or whatever it is. So another question is, no matter what I give now we're talking about gifts.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Switching gears now. No matter what I give my friend, she always tells me I should not have purchased a gift for her. It's like a Christmas beatdown. It's like a Christmas beatdown. Do you have any advice?
We've all had this friend who just demurs to the point of making you uncomfortable.
Mhm, we have.
And it's exhausting. So, I mean, I think you continue to give. If
Mhm.
you are a person who has always given that person a gift and they perpetually say, "Oh no, you shouldn't have," and then take it anyway, just take it for what it's worth. That's just them demurring. Maybe that's just how they were raised.
So how should you
Yeah.
answer that question now that we're on the topic? And when we can answer that at the end, but that's another.
Yeah, you mean when someone gives you something.
Right. Instead of, oh, you shouldn't have
The
done that.
most gracious thing to say is to say, "I absolutely love it. Thank you so much." That's it. You don't need to demur. You don't need to say, "Oh, you shouldn't have," or "Oh, I'm not worth it," or
Mhm.
"I'm not worthy," or "This is too much," or just say, it's absolutely everything, I could have wanted. I mean, I have John and I have a son who had a hard time with gift giving because he didn't understand.
Like giving the gifts or
Like
receiving?
receiving. So for his birthday, when he was a kid, he would sometimes get 2 of something.
Oh.
And he's my linear thinker,
Mhm.
right brain kind of kid. And he would always say, "Thank you so much. I have one of those already."
My son would say the same
Right.
thing.
And I know that. And so I had to teach him that you can say, "Thank you so much." And that be true, but it also be true that you have 2 of it, right?
Mhm.
So you just have to learn to accept gifts graciously, no matter what,
Mhm.
the situation. So you just say, "Thank you so much."
So, but what if they really do give you the beat down and they're like, no, and they really push you? Like, yeah, that's uncomfortable, but it happens.
That's uncomfortable. And I think if they continue with that line, then you just say, "Do you really not?" I mean, just ask them honestly,
Mhm.
is this really making you uncomfortable? Do you really not want it? And if the person says yes, then next time, just get them a little card, just keep it simple. And it may be them too, right? It doesn't say as much about you as it does about
Right.
them. It may be that they're worried they can't reciprocate that kind of a
Mhm.
gift, or that they don't know how to shop, or they don't know how to,
Right.
give gifts. So you have to just sort of meet them where they're at.
It's like taking compliments or giving compliments. Some people
Right.
just cannot take a compliment.
Yeah, and
no matter what.
I know, and it's hard, and we all, especially as women, I think we were always taught to demur.
Mhm.
We were always
Right.
sort of taught the squeezy and tilty of it. Oh,
Mhm.
But it's fine. It's fine to say, "Yes, I deserve that. Thank you."
Accept it.
Thank you very
Darn
much.
it. Anyhow,
Darn
accept
it, I
it.
do look great today. Thanks.
Well, that is great advice. That's great advice. Is your closet overflowing, or maybe your kids' closets are as well? Or maybe you just want to redecorate your home. If you're wondering what to do with all that stuff that you've accumulated, bring it all to True Fashionistas or even ship it to them for free, and they'll sell your unwanted items for you. They take away all the hassle by doing all the work, and all you have to do is sit back and collect your money. Plus, it's extra money in the bank for all those holiday presents. You can reach them online at truefashionistas.com, or come into the store and check them out, or check them out on Facebook or Instagram, and that's truefashionistas.com. We're now back in the studio with Mimi von Schreiner Valenti, and we're chatting about all things manners
Mm.
and manners over the holidays, because we need to freshen them all up with all the family and friends we have in town, right?
That's right.
Okay, gifting. Can I
Mhm.
re-gift? That's the age-old
Okay,
question.
so regifting. So I am absolutely, your whole business model is
Mhm.
basically based around the concept of the regifting in some way or shape or form, right? So I'm on board. Reduce, reuse, recycle. If it's something that I personally can't use, but I know the perfect person to give it to, and it's brand new and unwrapped, and I
Mhm.
haven't used it, and it's in gorgeous condition. It's just not me. I think there's nothing wrong with the regift, but be very careful. Do not regift it in an environment where the person who gave it
Mhm.
to you sees you regifting it. So you have to be a little strategic on the regift. And it, never like take it to the, to the company swap or,
Right.
whatever. And then the person sees that, oh, I guess she didn't really like that, So, but I'm in favor. I think technically, you're supposed to return and not regift.
Right.
I think that's silly. I think why not? If it's something that I know somebody else is going to love way more than I
Mhm.
did, why let it go to waste?
Right.
That's my feeling.
The other caveat is make sure you don't regift it to the same person that gave it to you, even if it's like
Yes.
a year or two down the road.
Yes, 100%, 100%. And be mindful too of the gift wrap. A lot of people I know, when they unwrap something, they save the bag or they save the
Mhm.
tissue or they save the paper because they think it's so beautiful. And I have some gift bags
Mhm.
that were given to me that were barely used. Be careful though, because everybody's gotten back,
Oh, that's funny.
at Christmas or something, that same bag or that same paper that you used the year before. And,
Mhm.
I'm always like, what? Wasn't this my paper
Right. And
last
you're
year?
like, darn, I forgot to remove the gift tag name on it that said to whoever. Yeah.
Yes. Well, yes, yes, yes.
That is funny. I think I've probably been guilty of that
100. I
and
think
victim.
100%. I think everybody does that. And price tags too is another thing a
Oh,
lot of
yes.
people forget. Please take your price tags
Oh,
off.
yes.
Unless you were like my mother, and sometimes she would accidentally leave the price on
Oh
just
my
so she could
gosh.
turn to you and say, "Well, I just wanted you to know it was a nice gift. This is a good one."
No. Do you remember a lot of our listeners probably won't remember Minnie Pearl,
Sure.
but how she had the little price tag.
Always on
Yeah,
her hat, she had that little price tag.
I'm always the one accused of that in my house because I'll buy something like a decorative piece and I will not take the tags off. I don't know why. It'll stay on there for like 2 years. It's terrible. Okay, Christmas cards. Number 1, do I have to send Christmas cards? And number 2, if so, is there any protocol around that?
Okay, so there is no requirement that you send holiday cards of any type.
Okay.
Technically, if someone sends you a holiday card, it's appropriate to reciprocate. So it is nice to send a card back, a message back.
Mhm.
In this day and age, even an email or text saying, "Oh, your family looked so beautiful on your holiday card. I loved it. We
Mhm.
didn't send cards this year," or
Right.
something to that
Mhm.
effect. The Christmas cards thing it's just tricky.
It
And,
is.
and a lot of people wonder, well, can I send an e-card? Is that okay?
Mhm.
If you communicate usually in your Christmas letter by, Facebook post,
Mhm.
Instagram post, email, it's perfectly fine to do it that way. I've had years I've gone whole hog and done all the cards, and I've had other years that I haven't. I think we're just all kind of busy, and
Right.
it can be one of these things. And I always like it when people send sort of a New Year's card. Or
Mhm.
one year, my sister did Valentine's
I've
cards,
seen that.
which with her new baby, which I just thought was
Mhm.
so cute. So, do it because you want to. Don't do it because it's some sort of weird ritual that, has been foisted upon you, because that's not the spirit of
Right.
of the holidays, right?
Right.
So do it in a way that you can actually accomplish it and feel good about it. That's my feeling about Christmas cards.
That's awesome advice. What about workplace giving? Because,
Ooh,
we're going to have
fraught.
a lot of parties.
Yep, that's very fraught. You have to be very mindful. First of all, if most workplaces sort of put a limit on
Mhm.
on how much to spend on the gift, please stick to that limit. If the limit's $20,
Yeah.
don't buy somebody a $100 gift card, because then they're just left feeling terrible because they stuck to the $20.
Mhm.
So be mindful if there's that kind of a thing. Make it appropriate. I mean, nothing filthy, nothing, nothing raunchy, nothing to, don't give somebody a nightie, or, just use
Common
common
sense.
sense when you buy these things, and try and make it something that's, works for any situation, any gender. Gifting to your boss is tricky.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
You have
Mhm.
to be careful about how that appears. Best to do something really low key but thoughtful. Maybe it's baking cookies and
Mhm.
bringing them in, or maybe it's just, offering to work late on a project or,
Right.
taking them to
Mhm.
lunch, maybe, something very simple and low key and not like you're trying too hard and not something where it puts them in a position
Right.
where, they have to give to everybody. And if you overgive it becomes awkward.
Complicated.
And if you have office staff, make sure it's an equivalency. Make sure everybody's getting about the
Mhm.
same thing. Don't play favorites with your holiday gifting, especially if it's staff. And for heaven's sakes, if you work with 3 coworkers equally, don't give one of them a gift in front of the other 2. Make sure
Common
if you're
sense.
if you're only buying for the one who really is your best friend, then take her to lunch and give her
Mhm.
the gift there.
Right.
Don't be, handing out things in front of the other 2 so they can just stand there and,
Right.
realize how less than they really
Mhm.
are in your world.
It's like
That's
saying,
just
I'm
not
going to go to
nice.
Starbucks to get something to drink.
Right.
And then, you ask 2 people, but you've got 10 people
Right.
in your office and you don't ask them. It
Yeah.
makes you feel crummy.
Yeah. It's awkward. And that's another,
Mhm.
actually, that brings up another fun thing to do at the holidays. Bring in that box of Joe from Dunkin' Donuts and, a big
Mhm.
tray of snacks or, order pizza someday for the office just for fun. I mean,
Right.
these are things that make everybody feel great.
Mhm. They do. Absolutely. So that whole workplace giving thing leads to workplace parties and drinking at a company party, which
Ooh.
is a big topic.
It is a big topic and people can get into, well, I mean, we've all been at that party.
We all have.
I'm happy to say I have not been that person at that
Neither
party,
have I.
but it happens.
Mhm.
So I would say, first of all, particularly as women, we don't always eat before we go to the
Mhm.
party because we're trying to fit into the cute dress or and we don't always eat at the party because it's awkward.
Right.
You've got the drink in one hand, the food in the other. There's nowhere to put the drink
Mhm.
down. Typically, it's a stand around kind of thing, especially at night. It's usually
Right.
cocktails. For heaven's sakes, eat something
Eat a
before you go.
cheeseburger.
Eat something. I don't care what, but don't show up to the
Mhm.
party starving because then all you do is stand around with looking like a chipmunk because you got food,
Right.
food in your face. Or you get loaded, because you
Mhm.
haven't had anything to eat. So please eat something beforehand. Moderation, have a
Yeah.
good time. Have a couple drinks of
Mhm.
whatever you like, but recognize that these are people you work with and it will be the talk of the office
Oh, for a long
the
time.
next day. And you might make decisions or say things or do
Mhm.
things that you're not going to be wanting to revisit that Monday after the party. So let's just try and, have a little
Mhm.
class.
Bring it down a notch.
Bring it down just a little bit.
So again, going along the lines of company parties,
Mhm.
are party clothes acceptable for an office party? Like something you'd go clubbing in?
No. So
You guys should have saw her eyes. She's like, no.
No. You want to be mindful that it still doesn't necessarily have to be work appropriate, but it needs to be occasion appropriate. So if your office party is a holiday lunch, dress like you dress to go to the office, but maybe take it up a notch. Wear something nicer than what you
Mhm.
maybe go to work in. If it's an evening thing or a cocktail thing, wear clothes that you would wear if you're going to a cocktail party. So for gentlemen, that's a jacket, pants,
Mhm.
might be a fun Christmas tie because it is the holidays, might be a little pocket square, something like that. For ladies, it's going to be a dress or pantsuit or, something
Mhm.
like that. But, dress for the occasion. However, we don't need everything on display. We don't need the dress crazy short, crazy tight.
Mhm.
I understand for a lot of people, their office party is a nice date night and you
Mhm.
want to look cute for your significant other. But let's remember that it is still work ish.
Remember where you're at.
Remember where you're at and just, keep it, nice.
Clean.
Clean. Yeah.
Keep it clean.
Just keep it to a point where, when you see that picture, when it makes the rounds, you're not sort of like, oh, that was not a good idea.
You're not cringing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Are there any, I have fast facts that we're going to do with you at
Okay.
the end of our podcast, but are there any other things that we did not touch on that people should know for the holiday season? Any etiquette?
I mean, my gosh, we covered a lot of minefield, there, which was great. And I know it's scary. And I think for people, they struggle a lot at the holidays. It's very difficult because we all want it to be this magical, amazing time. And that can create, a lot of stress. So I think the most important thing about manners and etiquette and things during the holiday is to just relax. Don't be so hard on yourself. Just do the best you can. Again, it's always the golden rule. Just
Mhm.
think about, in a situation, how would you want to be treated? So, if you have that family member that's pushing you to go to their house for Christmas, but you really can't manage it, just be kind about it. Be
Mhm.
honest. I think honesty is really important in family when you're dealing with some of these
Absolutely it
fraught
is.
situations, and just, being gracious but also true,
Mhm.
to what your needs are in a situation, and just trying to, keep the holidays light
Right.
and fun, and don't put so much pressure on yourself. Nobody, it's not your responsibility to make it awesome,
Right.
for everybody.
Well, that's awesome advice because you're right. We're
Yeah,
all supposed to have fun, and it's supposed
right.
to be lighthearted for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah, it is.
So I have 2 fun facts
Okay.
that I'd love to
Oh, Lord.
know. Here we
Okay.
go. Here we
All
go.
right. I'm
Okay.
ready.
So what is the best book or podcast that you have listened to or read lately?
So I love anything social history,
Okay.
particularly nonfiction social
Mhm.
history. And if the person's, the lead character is somebody aristocratic,
You
or
love your queens and your
I love
kings.
my
I
queens. I love my kings.
know.
I love anything involving, royalty, and certainly the first families of
Mhm.
this country too. So any book about the Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, the Roosevelts, and Anderson Cooper,
Mhm.
who everybody knows is an
Mhm.
anchor and a reporter for CNN. What most people know, but not everybody knew, is that Anderson Cooper's mother is Gloria Vanderbilt.
I recently learned that and it was like,
What?
"What?"
It's a crazy thing, and there's actually 2 books that I absolutely love. Anderson wrote a series of email correspondence back and forth with his mother when she was in her early
Oh,
90s.
wow.
So just a few years before she
Mhm.
passed, because she just passed. Um, and it's a series of him asking questions and her answering and her asking questions. And it's an open dialogue that they'd never had
Oh,
before,
wow.
and it's called The Rainbow Comes and Goes is the book. And then there's also a sort of companion documentary on HBO. If you have friends who have aging parents and are struggling with that bond building, or
Mhm.
that process of losing your parent, maybe because of age or Alzheimer's, it is the most beautiful book. I have given this book 100 times easily, and it's a quick read, and it is just beautiful. Like I said, it's called The Rainbow Comes and Goes.
I'll drop that in our show notes.
And then the other one that I just read, literally, that just came out, that my sister gave me because she always gives me the best books, is about the Vanderbilts themselves. And Anderson wrote it with a
Oh, wow.
co-author. It was very important. It was a part of his past that he had kind of put into a box on his mother's shelf
Mhm.
and didn't really pay any attention to. And then he had a son, and decided that his son Wyatt should understand what his
Mhm.
legacy is. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Right.
And he is quite critical, of his family history, but it's very interesting. And it's called, wait, I wrote it down because I was afraid I would forget the full title. It is called Vanderbilt: Rise and Fall of an American Dynasty.
Okay.
And it's great. Again, a quick read, but tons of great information and pictures also of the people. And it's just it's wonderful. And he really has a nice style of writing. And yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Wonderful. I will drop those 2 in the show notes. And last, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh my gosh, that's such a
I
hard
know, I
question.
knew it would be.
It's
So
really
many.
a hard question. I think probably the best advice that I ever got was actually from my mother, who was a person, if you knew her, you would never think she was painfully shy,
Mm.
ever. Because she just blew into every room, large as life, very anti-mame, very, I've arrived, but
Mhm.
she actually was painfully shy. And she helped one of my sons, who was also quite shy, with the advice that, anytime you go into a room and you don't know the people there, they're just as uncomfortable and just as nervous as you are. So you just go in there and try and make others feel comfortable. Ask them about themselves. talk about them. Everybody loves to talk about
That's so
themselves.
true.
And then instantly it takes the attention off of you,
Mhm.
puts the attention over there, and gives you a chance to kind of get your bearings and not feel so, overwhelmed when you're in these situations. And I thought that was just always such great advice. So many people feel so intimidated, by social situations or work
Mhm. That's
situations
true.
or, places where they have to, put themselves out there. And I'm guilty of that too. I
Mhm.
mean, again, I don't think many people would say that I was shy either, but I have to really steel myself when
Mhm.
I go into situations where I don't know quite a few people. And I just try and hear my mother in my ear saying, everybody's just as nervous as you are. So just take a deep breath and don't worry.
I
It's
love
going to
that.
be okay.
I love that because I'm going to have that in my mental file now. Well, thank you again so much, Mimi, for being on the
Thank
show.
you.
Really appreciate it, and the great tips that we got here from you. I know
I
are going to
loved it.
be a lot of people are going to be drawing off of this to get through their holidays.
Yeah, well, I
So-
hope so. And like I said, that's why we do it. That's what manners and
Mhm.
etiquette are for. It's to make everybody feel comfortable and that they are part of the party. So that's the most important thing to remember.
Wonderful, and thank you again,
Thank
Mimi.
you. My pleasure.
And thank you again, friends, for tuning into the Fashionista Life with Jennifer Johnson, brought to you by True Fashionistas. Make your day fabulous.
Yay. Thank you.
Let's do a quick